Hey, hi, hello. My name is Amanda, and welcome to my first attempt at a YouTube video. Nano starts today, and I waited for forever to do this, so here we are. I'm basically trying to show you guys what it is that I'm using to get through Nano. I've tried Nano so many years, and I've never won, so this is going to be my biggest attempt. So this is my tablet. It's a Samsung Tab S7. I love it. I got it for my birthday a couple of weeks ago, and it's been actually really useful to get through a lot of the planning aspects. That's my cover. I'm really proud of it. My wallpaper thing. It's Gigi from Kiki's Delivery Service. And that's my background with more Kiki's Delivery Service. Excuse all of the Studio Ghibli. But I use OneNote a lot for a lot of my planning. It's the app that I'm comfortable with. I'm a tutor and I use it for all of my students. So when it comes to planning things and having it cross-platform, you know, computer to tablet to phone, that kind of thing, OneNote is my go-to. So I have a table that I've started that is supposed to be about scenes, but I've basically done a lot of my stuff on paper, and I think I'm just going to be using that for when I start revising, but I do like having it. And then I'm also showing you the Forest app because Lord knows I cannot write without sprints. I mean, I can, but I mean, it's very difficult for me to stay on task unless I have something that makes me stay on task. The Forest app is really helpful. There are a couple of other things that I use to make sure that I do sprints in a way that is, you know, non-distracted. But I really like the Forest app. I like to collect the little tree things, and I get really upset when my tree dies. So yeah, it's a really great Pomodoro technique app, and I would really recommend it. Then I'm showing you my computer. Again, Gigi, seriously, please forgive the Studio Ghibli plugins. I don't mean to use it so much, but I think it's really cute. Yeah, I use Microsoft Word to write all of my manuscripts. I have tried Scrivener, but it's a little bit overwhelming, so for right now I think I'm just going to stick with Word. I'm also showing two different files because I use one file for my actual manuscript and another one just for pieces of the manuscript that I may not be using right then. I don't like to throw away anything that I've written. This is just to show that I'm using OneNote on my computer as well. Again, cross-platform, love the app, big fan. And this is my Spotify playlist. I have two. They are based on an anime about kids at a conservatory, and it works really well for my story because my story takes place in a boarding school for music students, and I thought it would be great to have, you know, the pieces that I'll probably be referencing in the story to listen to while I'm writing. In fact, the current background music is another one of the songs that I plan on being in the story. This is my, I guess what you would call my writer's notebook. It's a notebook cover from Webster's Pages, and it houses both my plotting / brain dump notebook and my this is where I write my manuscript notebook. I have post-it notes to just, you know, take really brief notes on. This is just scrap paper that I keep for projects that I'm not working on at the moment, but I want to make sure that I jot something down so that I can transfer it into another notebook where I keep just a giant compilation of ideas for future stories. And then I also have index cards because sometimes in the middle of a story you realize that something's gone wonky and you have to plan out more precisely where your chapter is going or where the chapter that you're about to write is going, so I keep those at hand. This would be my brain dump / plotting notebook. I only ever write in it with pencil because I want to be able to erase everything. And I'm using a Muji B5 notebook for it. I really like them. They're minimalistic, they're thin, and they have really nice, smooth paper. This would be the second notebook that I always carry for my writing projects. It's in a moleskin, and this is where I actually do, like, the bulk of my manuscript writing if I'm handwriting something. I'm basically just showing you these pages to show you how completely messy my writing process is. I scribble things out. I really don't care what it looks like on the page. I'm just trying to get as much down as humanly possible. And I edit and take notes before I retype into my, like, Word doc file. I find that it gets a little bit more polished that way. This would be the second chapter of the manuscript that I'm working on right now. The story that I'm doing for Nano is something that I wrote ages ago, and I'm reworking now that I'm older and hopefully a better writer. I have a multitude of notes in the back in that pink pen. Hopefully I'll be able to address all of those issues. This would be the planning that I had mentioned before that I did on paper. I was using, I think, Sarah Sutton's her way to outline, which she does like a pros and cons for each of the characters, and then she does the beats from Save the Cat Writes a Novel. I've never read it. I've heard great things. I'm hoping to pick that up soon, hopefully for revisions, so that I can know what everybody's talking about. And then this is the current draft I have thus far. I was fixing a couple of things up before Nano started. My writing notebook may seem a little bit extra to a lot of people, but there are times when typing just doesn't work for me. I feel really disconnected from the story, and I have to handwrite so that I can get anywhere. It's also really handy for when you want to go to the library to do your writing instead of taking your computer with you. This is my writing bujo, I guess you could call it. I understand this can seem a little bit unnecessary, but I promise you that it has a completely different purpose from the other two. So this is kind of my project overview page. That's a book cover that I made and a slight blurb, which I didn't like and will probably rewrite. But this is my Nano tracker. I've done it as a chart and as a calendar. I'm not using the same word count numbers as the Nano website. I'm actually using Pacemaker to change up how I'm doing my word track, like my word count tracking. And then these are sprint trackers, which I have 2 lined up next to each other on the same page, so that's 4 different sprints, 4 different rows of sprints. And then this is actually supposed to be for journaling while I'm writing. Sometimes I think journaling about your writing process is really, really helpful to see where you're getting stuck or where you're getting in your own way. This is my, I guess you would call it it's like a manuscript binder. That's my first chapter of my first draft. I'm basically just housing all the chapters that I've already written from the previous attempt of writing the story, and I take out the chapters to work on them as I need to and put them in my writing notebook, and then I place them back in the binder when I'm done and go on to the next chapter. I know this seems like a lot of stationery, but I really do try to use all of my things as much as humanly possible. And using all of the stationery that I have for my writing and my journaling is some of the more productive ways that I've found to use up the sometimes overwhelming amount of stationery I've collected over the years. I also like having a very particular place to put everything so that I'm not always confused about where to find all of the information that I amass while working on a project. This is my pencil case. It's what I usually use when I go outside or I go to the library to write, which I plan on doing a lot during NaNoWriMo since I get very, very distracted at home. So I have whiteout, which I usually need, not necessarily for writing in pen, but I do also use fountain pen. I also have lead for my pencils that I use on my brain dump notebook, a highlighter, which all of the highlighting that you saw in some of my old drafts were with this. I love it because it is dual-ended. You have the highlighter tip and you also have more of a pen tip. It's kind of reminiscent of the mild liners, which I also use, but not for this project. I use the highlighter end on sections of the text that I'd like to keep for the next draft, and I underline ideas that I want to make sure that I remember. This is a, I guess, retractable extending ruler that I got from Muji. I love it. I use it on my bujo spreads when I need to make a straight edge line. This is a Uniball Signo pen. I love the way it writes. It's very smooth. I actually thought that this was in black, but apparently this is like a dark brown color. It looks nice on the page, but it wasn't what I thought it was originally. And then this is a pair of scissors from Muji. I really like having a pair of scissors with me. I find that I often need one without knowing that I should take one. This is the pink pen that I, wrote notes on in the back of my second chapter. It's a Uniball 1 pen in .38. I write most of my things in a 0.5, but 0.3 is really great for making notes in between margins, especially since I don't really print any of my drafts in double spaced or anything like that, just to save on ink and paper. And then finally, this is my lovely fountain pen. I got this as an additional birthday gift, and I love it so much. I believe it's a Kaweco Lilliput. It's very, very small. It writes in a 0.5. It is one of the best and smoothest writing experiences I have ever had, and I'm so excited to handwrite some of the NaNoWriMo project that I have. This is a really great beginner fountain pen. It doesn't use like ink bottles, and it doesn't have complicated ways to put the ink in. You use cartridges, and it's really cost efficient, and you can get a lot of really beautiful ink colors without having to, you know, use pistons and the little rotatey thing to pull the ink in, which honestly I found a little bit intimidating and confusing. So I was really glad that by chance I ended up with this fountain pen. The next thing is, I actually bought these a while ago and I absolutely love them. They are hourglasses. I got them off of Amazon and I really, really love them. The white one is a 5-minute timer. They're supposed to be used for Pomodoros, so the 5-minute one is for your break time, and the black one is a half hour, which I think is the suggested amount of time that you should use for a Pomodoro, somewhere between like 25 and 30 minutes. I prefer the 30 minutes. I find that I can't really get into the groove of something unless I do at least a half hour. 20 to 25 minutes is too short for me. It's almost like I'm just breaking into my stride by the time my timer goes off, and I get really frustrated about that. I really want to use these. I haven't in a while, just because I've been using 45-minute sprints. Sometimes it's easier for me to use the Pomodoro apps than the hourglasses, though I think the hourglasses are sometimes better because if you're really in the flow, you don't have a timer to bring you out of that. So it really kind of depends on where you are that day. This is the final thing that I'm using. It's a calendar to have up on my wall. I have one in my Bujo, but I find that it's better to have something that you can see all the time. When I'm pointing out of the weeks, I'm showing like week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and then I have my rewards on the other side. I haven't picked them out yet, but I have a couple of things in mind. And that's everything that I'm using for NaNoWriMo. I'll leave links to everything mentioned down below. Good luck to everyone who's participating this year, and thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Have a good day, guys.